Strong Dads wants to thank 4Speed on 50 for sponsoring today's show. If you like classic cars, great food, and a taste of Americana, you have to visit 4Speed on 50's Diner, located on Route 50 in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Stop in today for a meal and an experience you won't soon forget at 4Speed on 50's Diner. Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merle Hutchinson, and I'm going to bring you a very different kind of show tonight. Carl is taking the week off this particular week, so I brought it back into the gym, and I want to talk about some things that some of you strong dads, I'm sure over time you have struggled with in the gym in terms of working out, exercise, that kind of thing. What I want to talk about is some different ways that we can approach our workout, some things that we should add to our workout, especially as we're getting older and tendons are not holding up maybe like they used to, and our planes of motion have become restricted because maybe we spend a lot of time in a chair or driving, and so we get this very limited scope of motion compared to as when you were a kid and you were out climbing trees and running through the field. And your body moved in a lot of different planes and directions. And so the first thing I want to talk about is our tendons. As we get older, we experience more and more of the tendonitis. A term we hear more today is tendinosis, a condition of the tendons, and tendinopathy. And so the pathology of the tendon is basically sick or ill, all right? And so the tendon's very different than the muscle fiber itself, the belly of the muscle. The belly of the muscle has a lot of blood supply to it, and it's got a lot of fleshy tissue in it, and those fibers have to slide back and forth in order for a contraction of the muscle and the relaxation, the elongation of the muscle. So that's the muscle body itself, and we can tear that, right? We can work too hard and tear those fibers to the point where it's a significant injury. But as we get older, we also find ourselves getting more and more tendon injuries. And so the tendons is more like a non-elastic cord of fibers where basically everything is coming off of the muscle body and it all comes in a coating that makes this nice tight bundle of cord, and that then goes and attaches to a bone structure in some place. And so what happens over time is we don't use those tendons like we did, and the tendon, our body's pretty amazing. God designed it so that it's only going to be at the fitness level that it needs to be based off of how we demand it to be. So our work and whatever we're going to put it through. So what happens is we get a little bit older, as I said before, maybe we sit more, maybe we're using a pencil instead of a hammer or a baseball bat, you know, we're just not pressing like we used to. And so not only may muscles get a little bit weaker, but the tendons get weaker. So finally, you decide you're going to go out on some weekend and you're going to go and run a 5K or sprint and race your kids across the yard, or play a game of basketball or maybe tennis. And sometime during the game or the day after the game, it's not just a soreness like a muscle soreness, it's an ache, a deeper pain ache at a joint. And you're thinking, okay, what did I do here? Chances are you overloaded what that tendon could handle. Now, if you don't do anything else again, eventually that pain's just going to go away and it's going to heal, but it's not going to strengthen. And so what I'm going to talk about today is how we actually can change some of our workout so we go back and strengthen the tendons. Okay, we're going to strengthen tendons, which is a very different kind of workout than if you're going to strengthen muscles. Let me regroup real fast, and I'm going to show you some different things that we can start to add to our workout, how we can go about them, and what our mindset needs to be when we're strengthening the tendons. So be right back. All right, got a couple things going on here. I'm going to first talk about how we have to go about, no matter the tendon, okay, how we have to go about loading the tendon without overloading it. And the reason why we often overload it is because we can get a muscle stronger than what a a tendon can handle, all right? So an example would be if we do a contraction of the muscle. So we have what we call eccentric and concentric contractions and elongations of muscle, all right? The problem is that I can contract the muscle. So let me grab my dumbbell here. I can contract the muscle. As I contract it, the muscle gets shorter, right? And those fibers are all coming together. And then I elongate, okay, eccentric motion like this. So as I'm going down, this is where the tendon is starting to carry the load. As I'm coming up, this is where the muscle, it has to overdo, it's overdoing the gravity, has to overdo in order to pull the weight up. The problem is, if I keep doing these curls, there's a good chance I'm going to get the bicep, in this case, stronger than what the tendon may be able to handle. So, how do I go about strengthening the tendon so that it can heal or catch up to the strength of the muscle? All right? Here's what we're going to do. I have to put the tendon under load. So a lot of times when guys get tendonitis, they're like, you hear rest and ice, you know, and basically sit around for a month or whatever. That's really not the greatest thing to do. I mean, if it's really inflamed and it's hot, give it a couple days to calm down. But really what we want to do is we want to take the most load possible that doesn't cause pain. All right? If it causes pain, I need to reduce the weight. And I'm going to start in the contracted position, all right? And as I'm going to slowly let the weight come down, slow, slow, slow. I'm doing an eccentric, an elongation, and this is my tendons just holding this. The muscle's actually trying to relax. And then I'm going to bring it back up, and I'm using both hands to bring it up because I'm not trying to strengthen the muscle. I'm just trying to put load on the tendon, all right? And so I'm going to let that come down slow and then back up. If that's easy and it creates no pain, you can go up a little bit. You can up that. I don't want to be using so much weight that I start to irritate the tendon again. So I'm trying to avoid that. I'm just slowly trying to put a little stress on the tendon so it responds to that level of stress and gets stronger over time. So we're going to come down, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do about 10 to 12 reps of that, all right? And I'm going to try to do that 3 times, 2 to 3 times, depending on how you're holding up. Especially when you first start off, there's no reason to go overboard. Get a feeling for what you can handle, all right? And you're going to do that about 3 days a week, slow, 3 days a week. And watch what happens over the course of several weeks. It's going to take a time to do this because tendons have a reduced, very small blood supply to them, so we don't get a lot of nutrient to it, so it takes time. So, but the other alternative is we know people who have had tendonitis for months and months and months. And it's because they continue to work out the concentric, overload the tendon, and the tendon can't catch up. Right? So we're going to take a little bit of time and we're going to load this up like so, and then we're going to back off of all the concentric stuff that we might normally want to do in the gym. And once we start to get that back, we're going to be strengthening that. Now, let's just say that that was too much for you. Anything at all was causing problems. Then what we're going to do is just an isometric. We're going to start really basic, really basic. And that would mean, an isometric means I'm going to stay the same length. I'm not going to shorten or elongate. I'm going to stay the same, the isometric. And so that just means I'm going to put the weight at a certain place and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it. And I'm going to hold that for about 20, 30 seconds. All right, in some cases, like when I do the patellar tendons, we're talking upwards of 45 seconds. I'm going to hold that, and I'm just trying to put it under load. I'm not going up or down, just trying to put it under load. And when I'm finished, I bring it down with both hands. All right, and so I can do that 3 times. 3 times, 30 to 45 seconds, just holding it at one position. And again, once I start to feel like, okay, that's not causing me any problems, I'm getting a little bit stronger there, then I can start with the eccentric, just the eccentric motion. So I can do that with the bicep, right? I can do that. So in particular, I had a lot of problems. So you guys have seen on the show, I've talked about my knees. And I know I've had both knees replaced. And in hindsight, if I'd have known more about tendons 10 years ago and how to strengthen them, I really think there's a good chance that I wouldn't be dealing with the knee replacement issues. So what happened is I did a lot of sitting in my regular job, but then I would go to the gym and I would work out. And a lot of back in the day when I first started a lot of my training, all the trainers talked about, do not put the knees over the toes. Do not go in front of the toes. Just go right to the toes. And so essentially that means you're always, the farthest you're going to go is you're just going to have your knee at a 90-degree bend. Well, the knee's made to go a whole lot farther than that. And we've come to find out that that's not really the best advice. It's not the best advice. We want to learn to work our joints in their fullest of range. But because we don't live in the fullest of range, we live in chairs versus squatting down to eat like at a meal on the floor, right? We live in chairs, we drive with our knees bent at a 90 degrees. We have really weakened and lost range of motion. And so that's what happened to my knees, and I have slowly been bringing them back. Since I had my last knee replacement back in June, and once I was able to get cleared to start moving more, I have been working these types of exercises where I'm going to load the tendon so the tendon can get strong and remodel itself, and then we'll get the body of the muscle strong. So for the case of patellar tendon, one of the simple things we can do here, I'm on a slant board, right? And so you may have heard about a guy by the name of Ben Patrick. And Ben Patrick is known for being the knees over toes guy, right? And at first people thought he was a little bit strange and goofy, but essentially what he's saying is use all of your range of motion. But before you can really do that, you better strengthen your tendons. And so a lot of his work is just about this. And so knees over toes, one way we talk about strengthening the patellar is to get on the one leg, right, and slowly come down. I'm on a slight incline. Come down, all right, I'm stretching out that tendon and hit the heel down, and then I can, if I can come up with both legs or one leg, but I'm just going to come down, tap. And so this is just a heel tap, all right, and my load is to go down. When I go down, that's where I'm feeling that. So all kinds of different motions where I'm just loading the tendon down, and then I use the other leg to help it get back up. As I get stronger, I can come up on my own. When I first started working the patellar tendon, I was just doing some wall sits. I was doing a wall sit, leaning up against the wall, and I was doing an isometric, just like I showed you with the bicep, an isometric, where I was letting my feet come out so that they would be allowing me to drop down at about a 45-degree angle down. So I don't need to go into a full 90 degree. I just needed to be, the tendons were so painful, so achy. I went down to about 45 degrees and I just held that for about 45 seconds. Finish that up and come back up, and did 3 sets of those until I could start to progress to some of the different things that I'm doing now. So again, I'm going to highly recommend you can do some research on, for the case of the patellar tendon, you can research the knees over toe guy, and that's Ben Patrick. And there are numerous other guys now that are doing a lot of work on this, okay? So anyway, that, guys, is tendon work. Load the tendon as the muscle is elongating and get the tendon stronger, and then you can go back to your concentric muscle building type workouts. So if you got tendon issues, hopefully that'll help. You know, do some research on it. Feel free to give me a call, but those are ways that we can help the tendons get through that. Okay, so now we're going to go back and I want to show something else that you need to start adding to your workout. Beyond the tendons, something else that we need to add to our workout. So let me get reset for that. Okay, so guys, we finished up the tendon work. That's something we can start to add to our workout. I like to actually, so sometimes we talk about like doing corrective exercises. When I'm feeling like I'm hitting a sore spot, I'll spend some time at the beginning or the end of a workout or just one random day in the week and just do some tendon work. Maybe I'll do some of the step downs. Maybe I'll do we talk about the knees over toes, split squats, so different things like that we start to work on. All right, let's move on. Here's the second thing that I really want to encourage you guys to start adding to your workout. So many guys talk about functional movement. And they go to the gym and they do some squats and they throw, the barbell over their head and all that. And that might seem functional because you're not on a machine. But to be really honest, functional movement, when I think of functional movement, I think about what type of movement do you need to function in daily living. And what happens is most of us do not work out in the type of planes of motion like life calls us to live in. And so in the workout world, we have what we call the sagittal plane, and that is the front to back. All right, so if I do a push-up or I push out on something or pull back, so that's the sagittal plane. If I do the frontal plane, that's the side-to-side, the lateral motions, okay? And then if I do the transverse, and that's kind of when I split the top of the body and the lower part of the body, and this is where rotation type things happen, where I'm going to swing, where the hips might end up pointing one direction and the shoulders going the other, all right? And so that slight separation is that transverse motion. And those, we can train those all day long in the gym. But what we really have to see is how do we flow through different types of planes, because that's what real life actually calls for us to do. And so I like to talk about, in my workouts, I add something to call off plane. In other words, let's mix it up. Let's get off of the regular planes and let's mix it up and strengthen the body and hit tissues that don't normally get hit in the gym. I'm never saying getting rid of your regular workout. What I'm saying is you might pare back that regular workout a little bit and add a little bit of this, and you're going to find yourself to be more durable, more able to do a lot of different activities. If all of a sudden tomorrow I need to go out and I need to go split some wood or go tear down a building, my body's going to be able to do that because it's going to be trained in a lot of different planes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to show you I'm going to use a kettlebell for this, and I'm going to show you how I can do different planes of motion. You could do this with other pieces of equipment. The kettlebell is fantastic at it, so that's why I'm going to show it. Okay, guys, so I've reloaded, and now I'm here with the kettlebell. And I really do like the kettlebell, not just because I'm the inventor of it, but I like the kettlebell because it allows me to do some things that somewhat like between acute rehab and full-blown return to play work. It allows me to let my body adjust to different tensions and loads and let my body feel what that feels like without hurting myself, all right? So here's an example, and I'm gonna start with a different type of deadlift. And let's just say my back's been a little bit sensitive, I hurt it, and I wanna get back into doing what I like to do, all right? So I'm gonna start, I've moved up, and I'm gonna just start with a half bend, about a 45-degree break at the hip. So it's kind of like doing a deadlift, but I'm not going fully. And I'm at my greatest load when I'm down. Gravity's working at its greatest point down, and then I bring it back up, and it's a reduced load. I can rest if I need to, all right? So that's just a sagittal plane right there, front to back. But here's what I want to add to it, so pay attention to this. Now I'm going to take the kettlebell, take the handle off, and here's what I want to add. I want to move this out at a 45 degrees. And so to do it, I'm going to move my hips back at 45 degrees. And again, I'm moving out. Now, I don't know about you, but this is actually how we see ourselves doing real life work. If I'm going to clear some brush and I'm reaching in and grabbing a branch that I need to drag into out of the pile, this is more of what this motion might look like. So I'm pulling off at a 45 degrees, my feet are still forward, and I'm flexing, look at my hips are back 45 degrees. So I'm gonna do sets that direction, then I'm gonna do sets on the other side at 45 degrees. All right, so I'm moving off plane. Let me show you something I like to do. This is, we call it the figure 8. And so the figure 8 is when I'm moving this weight back and forth. Now, what's happening here is I'm going through all kinds of different planes. I'm doing some transverse work with my arms and shoulders. I'm doing sagittal, and I'm doing the side-to-side frontal. And so here I am, and I'm changing it up. Now, what's interesting is how much my legs have to adapt, how much my core has to adapt, and what the arms and shoulders have to do. Guys, this is the type of tissue work where I'm working different types of tissues that don't normally get worked. And so this is a great exercise to strengthen up that I want to add to my workout regimen. I'll reverse the direction, and I've got a completely different workout going because I'm putting a load on my body in a different location. Now I'm going to go out, away, and so now I'm pushing the weight away, and so the load increases as it gets away from me. This is a completely different exercise, stressing tissues at a different level than what we saw before. All right, so that's one example of what we're talking about by changing up directions, changing up planes, so that I'm gonna work different tissues and stress them at different levels. Guys, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is most of us are not playing professional sports. Most of us just want to be functional and get out and live our best life. Whether it's out playing with the kids or playing a pickup game of basketball, we want to be able to be fit and strong to live our best life. And so that's why I've taken the time to do this show here today to talk about, well, what do guys run into the most? And that's a lot of tendon stuff and a lot of tissues that don't get stressed anymore. So that's why we're working off plane and doing different things. If you want to know more about this, feel free to reach out to me, and you can go to my website. This is a different website than rocksolidfamilies.org. This is kettlebarfitness.com. Because on Kettlebar Fitness, we have a link there to our YouTube page where I show you all kinds of different workouts where we're working off plane, and in this case, we're using the kettlebell, right? So I hope that makes some sense to you. So that's all I got for you today. Why don't you go out there and be a strong dad.
Strong Dads wants to thank Quality Auto Mart and Service for being a proud sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Started in 1985 and going strong for all these years. Recently, Quality Auto Mart has transitioned from owners of Mark and Nancy Repke to longtime employee Fred and Lorraine Venus. For all your automotive needs and golf cart needs, check out Quality Auto Mart, located across from Indian Lakes on Highway 46 outside of Batesville, Indiana. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.